Okay, I'd like to ask an extra question today. As I was listening to you talk about how today's topic's relevant with the event, the question came into my mind of what would be, say, my perception of the event or Ron's perception of the event. Can you kind of come down into that experience of a singular person and share that with us, just so we could kind of maybe imagine it a little bit deeper or expanded?
Most of you who are on the path that you are on have for quite some time now been experiencing small inklings of this as it approaches. Some of you see, even though you may not be clairvoyant, some of you see in your quiet times light within you. Some of you feel vibrations, tingling, heat, or the perception of being surrounded by a great love. Imagine all of that combined and intensified to a point where it was perceptible with your eyes open and your mind awake. Imagine feeling a love so strong that it made you cry like a baby. Imagine feeling physical sensations so strong that the only word you can think of to describe them would be perhaps bliss. And imagine knowing when that occurred, where it came from, in that energy. All of these things you see are energy. All of these things are intelligence. All of these things are me, you, we, us. The knowledge of that will come with that. And even though that state of consciousness may again recede somewhat, because you would not want to keep living your life if it did not, all the questions would disappear from that point, will they not? All the lack of self-worth, all of the lack of deservedness, and as we spoke last week, all of the questions about whether or not you are heard, whether or not you are valued, whether or not you are loved, whether or not you are forgiven, all of those questions will no longer exist. There are people on your earth, unfortunately, even today, who will experience that as a phenomena and yet be unable to experience what we have just described to you. And that is regrettable. But before you get lost in regretting it, remember that they are eternal just as you are, and that their journey and their destination is the same as yours. They've just taken another path, another timeline. That's a word you like to use. But since there is no us and other, then there will be none lost. We hope you are looking forward to this moment as much as we.
I think we are. I think as much as we can perceive it. That's why we keep asking the questions, because we wish to imagine greatly.
The reason why you are asking it and getting answers is that when you imagine greatly, you bring it closer.
Well, then, okay, I have to say, when I started that question out, it was a little bit of a trick, because I wasn't really meaning how would the perception be for myself and for Ron individually, but I wanted, more on a human individual level, what would that perception be? But as I'm understanding what you said last week and what you're saying today and these questions and answers, it seems to me that the universal experience will be an individual perception, but that it will affect the things like you mentioned, like the governments and the monetary systems and the connection to global neighbors and things like that. Am I correct in that, or can you expand on that a little bit, please?
Surely. Imagine yourself 1 hour after that happened, or the following day? Would you have the same priorities that you have today? Would you have the same beliefs that you have today? Would the same things be important to you, such as what this politician said or what that one did? Or you will not. And what is happening around you would be different also, because as so many in so many places in the world changed just at the same moment in the same ways you did, a lot of what you worry about now will disappear. It just simply won't happen anymore. There will be a lot of confusion. There will be a lot of stunned amazedness, a lot of OMG in capital letters all over your internet, a lot of phone calls being made to friends. But your world will change. There will be people whom you currently perceive as being rather negative, rather different in belief and action than you would prefer, who suddenly do an about-face. Some won't, but many will. And so they will not be the other side anymore. There will be many questions which do not have two sides anymore. And more rapidly, your world will begin to change. Because your priorities, not your individual priorities, although they do come first, but your overall priorities as mankind, as a world, as a society, will change. When you realize that all of the things you've been saying for all of these hundreds and hundreds of years are true, are actuality, when that person in that country who has nothing to eat and no water cannot be tolerated anymore, that situation hurts you, each and every one of you, won't be allowed to exist anymore. When that child who cannot now receive the education that he's so hungry for, when that situation cannot be tolerated by anyone in your world again, your world will change. And that will be because that child is no different from you. And you will know that. You will perhaps know it in your memory, but you will have experienced that, and therefore you will know it. Now, as we said, if you walked through the rest of your lifetime in that consciousness, in that awareness, then we would have a very hard time getting you to stay there, would we not? You would not want to go back to even your beautiful home, or even drive your beautiful car, or even perhaps visit your wonderful friends. You would not want to go back. But you will, for the same reason that those who experience these states of consciousness for a few seconds or a few minutes at a time go back now. The most important part of your life is the part of your life that you are living right now. And that will not change. There's still a lot to be done by you. And if there were not, you would not have gone there. The benefit to you and to the all of your being where you are and doing what you are doing will be more of your realization. And so your day-to-day will then be, what else may I do? How else can I help? There was so much change that even these things we're speaking of will not even begin to touch it. And it will not be as if the brilliant flash of light came and someone snapped their fingers and suddenly your new world existed. Because where you live, there is time. And the experience of time means that there are a series of perceptions which occur between this state and that state. And that will continue to be. And you will reach a point at which enough of you will pass into the awareness and perception that that is not necessary, and then your perceptions will no longer be third dimensional, and you will not have to be in time except when you wish to. But that won't happen next Friday either. Which brings to mind another little problem you have, and that is that you could be immensely enjoying this journey you're on instead of wondering why it wasn't over.
Well, I think I just deleted my last question, but okay. So enjoy the ride is what you're saying.
It is enjoyable, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will stop pestering at this point until I start again very soon, just so you know. Okay. I just have one final question. I'm going to go back on my word and just see what you have to say, what's appropriate. But if you were me looking back after the event, looking out over humanity and the experience, how would I describe it to others?
There would be no need to describe it to anyone who actually understood it.
I'm imagining describing it to somebody who didn't experience it.
That's it, you see. There will be those who do not, who will only have noticed a vast flash of light. There will be those who experienced more than that, and yet who will deny experiencing more than that. There are those now who face overwhelming evidence of the truth of certain events which have happened already on your world, and who can yet say, that's poppycock. That is ridiculous. The truth is, and then they feed you the line that they were given. And you want to know how you will describe what you experienced to those who did not experience it. And so you're going to describe your feelings and your emotions and your realizations and your spiritual difference today from yesterday. Are they going to understand you? Really? Either they are not going to understand you at all, or they are going to refuse to understand you.
Okay, can I alter it a little bit?
Certainly.
What if I were to write an account of it?
We have done that already today.
Well, I'm a slow learner.
Would you like to have a one sentence?
Yeah, one or more, it's good.
Christ is returning to your world. Not that he ever left, you understand. But the perception of Christ consciousness will be so overwhelming that those of you who thirsted for it and have not yet found it will perceive it. And you will perceive it as part of yourselves. And you will perceive it as part of those doubters also. And once having perceived it, you will be forever changed, even though you cannot remain in that consciousness yet. Now that's a very short answer, but it is a very big answer. And we have spent now many minutes describing something which cannot be described. It can only be experienced. You spend many minutes describing your life, daily, hourly. This happened to me and that happened to me. And I did this and I did that. I went here and I went there. And you are describing the tiniest, minuscule portion of your actuality. And you do not even see that. And what is going to happen is the limits are going to be lifted and you are going to experience who you are. And then you're going to turn around and try to describe it from someone who did not? I don't think so. But there will be so many around you who did that you will just look at each other and go, huh? You won't even have to say, did you? Because you'll see it on their face. Now, the one we have spoken to you of before, and you have questioned us about before. Aisha told you that this spirit, this being, would return. And you imagined, because of your consciousness state at that time, that a walking, talking, living, breathing human being would walk down the street, clap you on the shoulder, give you a hug, and say, "Hi, I'm back." Not exactly what's going to happen, and yet exactly what is going to happen. Can you wrap your mind around that?
I can enjoy wrapping my mind around that.
Yes.
Well, I hope I didn't appear to be bossy. My hope was to ask the same question in several different ways so that the folks that are listening to the recording might grasp it, and one person might receive some information that another one might not be picking up. So I was trying to use my my reporter skills, what limited they are, to draw through as much information as possible to be helpful to others.
We think you must be explaining to them because you don't need to explain to us.
Touche. All right. Is there anything else that you wish to add before we close out today's session?
We think we are complete.
Well, thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you had to share with us today. It's received with open hearts and arms. Thank you, thank you, thank you.